Greetings! Today on Equestrian's Library, we're featuring the novel Other People's Horses by Natalie Keller Reinert. It is the second book of hers featuring Alex and Alexander, two of the main characters. They do happen to be married, and one is an established trainer of racehorses and the other is an aspiring trainer of racehorses, and we get to see her debut in this novel, which centers mostly around Ocala and Saratoga, which is in upstate New York. I feel like Natalie Keller Reinert does a really good job writing for other horsewomen. As a horsewoman herself, she's fun to follow on the social medias as well, so I encourage you to do that. You might also want to go all the way back to her blog, Retired Racehorse, I think was the name of it. I'll find a link if I can and put it in the description below, so you can go back to kind of her writing beginnings on equestrian fiction. So she really knows how to write for her audience. Perhaps she is also writing books that she herself would like to read. Who knows, maybe she'll tell us. Alright, so I want to share some things that I liked about it, a few quotes, but I don't want to spoil things for you. I want you to go read this book. So, first quote. This is Alex's point of view. Early morning on the farm, training some babies. I barely saw a whole horse anymore. I saw them in bits and pieces, in angles and joints and lengths, and only when all those subsets had been studied and connected did I step back to see an entire animal that was functioning in perfect harmony. That was on a good day, anyway. I guess sometimes you just can't get past the pieces, especially when you're trying to figure out how to make them all tick together to win races. So one thing I like about this book is the way she handles horse racing and the way she covers so many different aspects of it, both from the training to getting them to the behind the scenes at the track to all of the commotion and ruckus that we're familiar with seeing on TV, or perhaps you've been to the grandstand and seen it. And it's nice to have both the back of the track scenes, which really most of us don't get to see, and how that tends to play out in front of the grandstands on the track. I like that she writes for horse people, so these horses aren't exactly coddled, and yet the poor practices of horse racing and horse keeping are made to be, they're bad, they're looked down on, which is nice. I also really appreciate the character's description of Saratoga. It's a place I have not been to, but I've seen pictures. It looks beautiful and amazing. And her description clearly points out why Saratoga is such a jewel and such a odd thing in horse racing these days. And this description gives you both what Saratoga is and is not. I was more interested in the Victorian houses appearing beyond the bar. Lining the road, antique and eccentric, they were lace-trimmed ladies with elm boughs for parasols, their upper stories providing permanent box seats for the premier racetrack of the Gilded Age. Amidst their bright flower boxes and eccentric color patterns, swinging wood signs declared their names. Track View, I read aloud. It was not the most creative of names, to be sure, but anyone would want a house they could call Track View. Carrie nodded, speechless. It was all so beautiful, a picture of what a racing town should be and never, ever was. Where were the slums, the falling down shotgun shacks where grooms and hot walkers threw their bikes on scabby lawns and drank Coronas on collapsing porches? Where were the pawn shops and the cut-rate liquor stores? The train tracks and the airport traffic? Modern racetracks were consigned to industrial wastelands. 150 years ago, Saratoga decided to make it the centerpiece of their town. And there you have it. Something Saratoga is, and pretty much no other track has to offer. Some of them were exciting scenes. Of course, it's a book about horse racing, so there's built-in excitement whenever you talk about a race. But she touches on some things that maybe don't get covered in a lot of other novels about horse racing, including claiming, which is where you, before the race starts, you can enter a bid to buy the horse. And so in this process, once the race starts, if you've made a claim and if it gets accepted, it's the highest bid or whatever, then you own that horse as soon as these gates open for the start of the race. So if the horse gets injured or, heaven forbid, dies during the race, that's your lame or dead horse. And I was really interested to see where she was going to go with that one. Luckily, spoiler alert, she spares us. But still, there's a great deal of excitement, but luckily no dead horses. At least not there. Or are there? Okay. So, fair warning, there is some explicit language in this quote, but I think it's perhaps my favorite quote of the whole novel, and it doesn't give any spoilers away, so I thought I'd share it with you. I really enjoy both how pragmatic the main character is, but also, her heart's in it. There's no getting away from that, and I think the writing comes through in those moments very powerfully. They swept past the 8th pole, a furlong to go, 10 seconds to go. She plowed through the brown-green grass, her hooves digging up great clods of the ruined sod, all the remnants of that dry, miserable summer, and sending them flying behind her. I felt the chunks of grass and soil were all our failures and regrets, she and I both putting them behind us. A great big jolly fuck you to a summer of sorrow. And when she put her head next to the embattled gray filly, I thought I didn't care who won the photo, but I'd always tell the filly it had been her. And there's the love. I hope you guys read this novel and have as much fun doing it as I did. And I hope it helps inspire you to maybe have a few more views from atop 4 legs.